எஸ், வீடு, ஸ்கூல்ஸ், ஹோட்டல்ஸ், ஸ்டோர் ரூம் இங்கெல்லாம் பார்ட்டிஷன் வால் கட்டணும்னாலும்
இப்போ பில்டிங் போனஸோட ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சாய்ஸ்
Renocon Rapid Wall Panels.
Vanakkam, Chairperson. Sir, I rise to speak on this bill. While some of the reforms in the bills are technically necessary, the provisions are very good, but there are certain areas that on technical grounds I'd like for clarification. Sir, just to on the positive note, the updation of old excise power provisions. The central law has written long before the GST. Excise law was written long before the GST. The bill now has removed all these sections and aligns procedure with the modern system. That's a welcoming act. The digital filing and record keeping, that's a welcoming act. Introducing timeless timelines, that is also a welcoming act in this bill. But sir, there are certain gray areas that I would like to seek clarifications. Sir, there are vague and open-ended wordings in this bill. For example, the bill uses phrases like any other goods and may be notified, and any process and may be prescribed without defining the limits. I'll give you an example, sir. Sir, imagine a small BD unit in Ambur or Vanimbadi in my hamlet village. They know exactly what process attracts excise. But if tomorrow the government issues a notification saying even cutting leaves, warming tobacco is a new process that will attract excise, they will have no protection because the law itself is open-ended. This is an uncertainty, it's a technically dangerous. This is one of the flaws that I need clarification from the finance minister. There's excessive powers being delegated to the executives. Into the rules and notifications. This weakens the parliament control. If the rate of the duty of the conditions of exemption to, for example, BD units are left to notification, a sudden midnight change can raise the duty, cancel an exemption, impose new compliance, even without parliament even discussing it. For an industry run by lakhs and poor women, this is an unpredictable, fatal move, madam. Madam, there are other areas like you are giving a retrospective effect. Suppose a BD manufacturer told that their valuation method was right as of now. If the bill now says that the department's earlier view is legally valid retrospectively, the small unit may suddenly can receive notices for 5 years back duty, 5 years penalty, and even interest also. Sir, this is not tax administration. This is an economic punishment by the new act. Sir, complaints on smaller units. Again, I'm talking about the BD units and other smaller units which are being suffered because of this bill. The bill increases reporting obligations and audit access without simplifying the process. Sir, again, I'm talking only about the BD unit, sir. Sir, a BD rolling unit run from a small godown. They don't have accountants, no computers, no GST consultants. If the bill requires digital registers, monthly statements, and detailed stock reconciliation, these small units have only two choices: close down or break the law unknowingly. Sir, lakhs and lakhs of industry, women, and labor will be affected by this bill. Sir, again, and I missed the GST misterminology. Sir, definitions of manufacture, valuation, and removal must match GST rules. But this bill uses different languages, creating conflict. Under GST, rolling BDs is one of supply of goods. Under excise, it may be classified differently. This mismatch will force every small BD units to fight classification disputes in courts, a burden that they simply cannot bear. And again, you are strengthening the powers and inspection. You are strengthening the powers of inspection of authorities. The bill increases the powers for search and seizure, but does not improve dispute resolution. If an officer believes a BD unit has undervalued stock, he may seize the goods immediately. But the appeal process still takes years and years. Yes, smaller units cannot survive long legal battles, sir. Sir, in Tamil Nadu, major women community are dependent on this BD manufacturing. More than 6 lakhs women in Tamil Nadu roll BDs to support their families. They are widows, they are single mothers, elderly women, and even house-based workers. Sir. A sudden increase in this compliance, valuation disputes, seizures, or retrospective demands will wipe out the entire traditional industry, sir. Sir, this is not a tax issue. This is a women's livelihood and a rural economy issue in Tamil Nadu, sir. Sir, I'm concluding, sir. Sir, I support this reform. I support the removal of harmful clauses. I support the finance minister, but I'm just seeking certain clarification. I support the intention to modernize the excise laws. I strongly oppose the provisions creating those confusions, burdening the small industry and threatening the BD workers in particular. Sir, clearly protect the BD industry from the new compliance burdens. Remove vague and unlimited delegated powers on the BD world or the BD industry. Ensure no retrospective effort so that BD industries get penalized. Align the excessive excise definitions with the GST to avoid disputes. Create a simplified low compliance category for smaller units, especially BD, sir. Sir, with these changes, this bill can be made fair, modern, and also people-friendly. Without them, it risks destroys one of the largest women-led industries in Tamil Nadu, sir. Sir, finally to conclude, BD தொழிலாளர்கள் கொரோனா காலத்துல கூட சார் பாத்தீங்கன்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட இந்த கொரோனா பீரியட்ல யாருக்குமே வாழ்வாதாரம் இல்லாத பொழுது கூட இந்த பீடி தொழில் எத்தனையோ குடும்பங்களை காப்பாத்திருக்கு, வாழ்வாதாரத்தை காப்பாத்திருக்கு. ஏழை எளிய மக்கள் இந்த பீடி தொழிலை நம்பி இருக்காங்க. அந்த பீடினால என்ன ஹார்ம்ஃபுல் டிசீஸ் வருதுன்றத ஒரு பக்கம் பார்க்கும் பொழுது, ஆனா அதனால எத்தனை குடும்பங்கள் வாழ்ந்துட்டு இருக்குன்றது தயவு செய்து சிந்திச்சு பார்க்கணும். ஒரு உதாரணத்துக்கு சொல்லணும்னா, ஆபரேஷன் பண்ணும் பொழுது அந்த கத்தி எவ்வளவு கூறுன்றத நிறைய பேர் யோசிக்கிறோம். ஆனா அந்த கத்தியை கூறுனால எவ்வளவு பேருக்கு நம்ம ஆபரேஷன் பண்றதை இன்னொரு பக்கமும் யோசிக்கிறோம். ஆகையால தயவு செய்து தாய் உள்ளத்தோடு கேட்கிறேன், தயவு செய்து எங்க ஊர்ல இருக்கக்கூடிய பீடி தொழிலாளர்கள் குடும்பங்களை காப்பாற்றும்படி கேட்டு அமர்கிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
थैंक यू आनंद जी। श्री राजा राम सिंह जी।
सभापति महोदय, सबसे पहले मैं सुधाकर सिंह जी से अपने को एसोसिएट करते हुए अपनी बात को आगे बढ़ाता हूं। आज इस बिल के आने के बाद मैं समझ रहा था कि दो तबके बहुत खुश होंगे कि हमारी चर्चा आज नहीं हो रही है। एक तो अडानी पोर्ट पर जो ड्रग्स के बड़े बड़े सीजर हुए हैं और उनको एग्जम्पशन मिला है वो, और दूसरा जो फ्रस्ट्रेटेड नौजवान इसको लेते रहे कि हमारी चर्चा, हम पर चिंता करने की बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं हुई। और हम ये कहना चाहते हैं, हम पूर्णतः नशा के विरोधी हैं, लेकिन यह भी देखना पड़ेगा कि नशा क्यों करते हैं लोग, और हम पॉलिसी मेकिंग में इस बात को सोचें कि क्या हम गरीबों मजदूरों पर श्रम का घंटा कम करके, जो थकान उनकी है थोड़ा कम करने की स्थिति में हैं। क्या हम महिलाओं पर जो पुरुष सत्तावादी दबाव है उसको कम करने की स्थिति में हैं। क्या हम नौजवानों को रोजगार दे करके उनके फ्रस्ट्रेशन को कम करने की स्थिति में हैं। तो जब बात होगी तो इस पर चर्चा भी होनी चाहिए। और जहां तक इस बिल में अन्य प्रावधानों के सवाल हैं, तो निश्चित रूप से हमें जो किसान और मजदूर इस रोजगार में लगे हुए हैं, खेती कर रहे हैं, बीड़ी बना रहे हैं, उनके हितों को भी हमें ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा और उसके लिए आवश्यक उपाय करने होंगे। मेरे पास समय कम है, आपको धन्यवाद देते हुए मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं।
धन्यवाद राजाराम जी। श्री प्रशांत पंडोले जी।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। मैं आज केंद्रीय उत्पादक शुल्क विधेयक 2025 पर बोलने के लिए खड़ा हुआ हूं। इसका उद्देश्य तंबाकू, सिगरेट, गुटखा जैसे पदार्थों पर जीएसटी 28% से बढ़कर 40% करता है। सरकार यह कहती है कि इससे राजस्व बढ़ेगा और यह पैसा स्वास्थ्य सुरक्षा और राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा में इस्तेमाल होगा। यह बात सही है कि देश की कमाई बढ़नी चाहिए, लेकिन अध्यक्ष महोदय, कमाई से ज्यादा जरूरी हमारे लोगों की जिंदगी है। तंबाकू से हर साल 13 लाख भारतीय मरते हैं। ये कोई मामूली आंकड़ा नहीं है। ये 13 लाख परिवारों का दर्द है। ये बच्चे हैं जो बिना पिता के बड़े होते हैं। ये माएं हैं जो अपने जवान बेटे को खो देते। WHO और ICMR बताते हैं कि तंबाकू की वजह से रोज 3500 से ज्यादा भारतीय मरते हैं। कैंसर, दिल का दौरा, स्ट्रोक। तंबाकू धीरे धीरे नहीं, हर दिन हजारों लोगों की सांसें छीन रहा है। मैं सरकार से आग्रह करता हूं, सिर्फ टैक्स नहीं, तंबाकू का चरणबद्ध उट्टाचन एलिमिनेशन हो। हमारा लक्ष्य होना चाहिए तंबाकू मुक्त भारत। इसके लिए स्कूल कॉलेज के 500 मीटर के अंदर बिक्री पर पूरा प्रतिबंध यानी बैन होना चाहिए। फ्लेवर वाला और बच्चों को लुभाने वाला तंबाकू पूरी तरह से बंद होना चाहिए। हर जिले में डी एडिक्शन सेंटर होना चाहिए। तंबाकू किसानों के लिए दूसरी फसल की व्यवस्था की जानी चाहिए। सरकार यहाँ पे टैक्स बढ़ाने की बात करती है, लेकिन टैक्स क्यों बढ़ा है? ये तो नैसर्गिक खेती हो रही है, इसके लिए सरकार का कोई भी पैसा वहां पे खर्चा नहीं हो रहा है। फिर ये क्यों यहाँ पे टैक्स बढ़ाना चाहती है? तंबाकू की कमाई से देश नहीं चलता, देश अपने नागरिकों की जिंदगी से चलता है। तंबाकू से मिलने वाला पूरा राजस्व स्वास्थ्य पर ही खर्च होना चाहिए और उसमें कानूनी और लीगल गारंटी देनी चाहिए। अंत में मैं कुछ सुझाव के साथ में अपने विचार समाप्त करना चाहूंगा। राजस्व पे काम होगी उनके लिए।
एट द सेम टाइम जब वहाँ पर जुड़ी है इसकी क्या और निकम में देश उसको भी
विषय पर बोलने का अवसर प्रदान किया। वास्तव में ये जो बिल है, ये बिल बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बिल है और ये 2047 तक भारत को विकसित राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए मार्ग प्रशस्त करने वाला बिल है। हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी से नेशनल सिक्योरिटी सेस बिल 2005। आज हम 2025 में हैं और 1944 से जो बिल चला रहा था, आज हम उसके अमेंडमेंट करने के लिए यहाँ पर हैं। मैं इस बिल के समर्थन में खड़ा हूँ। उसके पीछे कारण है, मैं पेशे से स्वयं भी चिकित्सक हूँ और मैं तंबाकू और तंबाकू उत्पादों का जो दुष्प्रभाव है, मैं उसको बहुत अच्छे से जानता हूँ। इस बिल के जो लाभ है प्रमुख, वो ये है कि इस बिल में किसानों को कोलेटरल जो खेती है, जो सहायक खेती है, सह खेती, उसके लिए अर्थायाम का प्रावधान होगा। निश्चित तौर से इस बिल के माध्यम से जो हमारे किसान हैं, जो हमारा सेस से पैसा आएगा, उससे हमको किसानों के लाभ के लिए भी हमको देना पड़ेगा और इस क्षेत्र में इसका एक उपयोग युवा पीढ़ी के साथ साथ राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। आज तंबाकू हो, चाहे सिगरेट हो, चाहे पान मसाला हो, चाहे नस हो सूखने वाला, जितने भी प्रोडक्ट है, आज हमारा देश का युवा उसको सर्वाधिक उपयोग कर रहा है। और माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैंने तो देखा है गाँव में 12-13 साल के लड़के शुरू कर देते हैं तंबाकू का सेवन और कम उम्र में ही
बीमारियों की वजह से उनको बहुत सारी विकृतियां आ जाती हैं। इसलिए युवा पीढ़ी की सुरक्षा राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा है, इसका एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण लाभ होगा। कैंसर के बारे में मैंने बताया, सबसे ज्यादा हमारे देश में अगर कहीं डेथ हो रही कैंसर से तो ओरल कैंसर से डेथ हो रही है। ओरल कैंसर मुख्यतः तंबाकू, गुटखा, पान मसाला, इससे ओरल कैंसर होता है और इससे सर्वाधिक डेथ हो रही है। मैं समझता हूं कि इस बिल के आने से बहुत सारे उन परिवारों को जो तंबाकू और गुटखा के सेवन की वजह से आज बिछोह में है, परेशान है और एक तरह से बर्बाद होने की स्थिति में है, उनको एक फायदा होगा। राष्ट्र को आर्थिक उन्नयन के लिए भी एक यह आयाम है। इस तरीके से अगर हम ये कहें कि ये जो बिल है वो बिल है स्वास्थ्यायाम से अर्थायाम और अर्थायाम से
शिगार हो, हुक्का हो।
Before GST, it's come back.
कदम सलमान खान हो में सर, excise is not a political policy.
And so today we've had about actually 28 speakers who participated in this debate.
And you were constantly sitting for 3 hours here.
Thank you very much.
You have heard to everybody.
And
You have heard to
we've
everybody.
had quite a few suggestions, inputs, and commentary on the bill, which is essentially excise duty. And essentially excise duty, which existed before 2017 under the central government. And it was only for the sake of the compensation cess which was required at the time of introducing GST that center gave up its powers to levy excise duty on tobacco and tobacco related products, that right was given away to the GST so that they will be in a position to collect the compensation cess over those items which were taxed at 28%. So that compensation cess was collected between 2017 till 2022, which is what I said at the time when I opened the debate in my opening remarks. Now, therefore, the compensation cess which was collected till 2022 went in the hands of the states. It was given off to the states. And by law at that time when GST was introduced, compensation cess was to be collected for 5 full years and it came to an end in 2022. But after 2022, it is still being collected because after proper legal consultation, the GST that during the COVID years, we couldn't collect the revenue required and couldn't collect particularly the compensation cess, which is levied on items which were at 28% rate. We couldn't compensate the states, which was a promise given under the GST. So, taking legal opinion, it was extended to such a period. Of course, the outer limit was fixed for March 2026, but it was extended to such a period till when it had to be collected for returning the loan which was taken for paying the states. So essentially here, what was there before 2017, what was conceded by the Center for the State of Center for the GST Council to collect the compensation cess, at the end of compensation cess is being naturally reverted to the center. This is not a new law. This is not an additional tax. This is not something which the center is taking away. There was quite a lot of observation made by several honorable members that it is a cess. This is not a cess. This is excise duty. It existed before GST. It's come back to the center because center gave it away at that time for collecting compensation cess. Now it's reverting back to the center. And I will get into the details when I answer some particular members' questions. It is coming back to the center to be collected as excise duty, which will go to the divisible pool. It is going to be redistributed again at the 41%, which has to go to the states. So this is not a cess. When a cess comes, I'll stand up to say that is cess. This is not. And I found quite a few honorable members talking about, oh, this is a cess, center is bringing it, it's going to take the revenue. No, please. I will stand up when I have a cess to talk about. But this is not the one. Sir, I just want to highlight the basic excise duty. Even after the introduction of GST, because that head of account was being maintained, was brought to the minimum most level, and then now it's going back. Even during GST, when that minimum most level of excise was being collected, we collected only a token amount, which was 5 rupees for 1,000 sticks. And for most cigarette categories, it was 10 rupees per 1,000 sticks. Size variant are taken as consideration. In practical term, it meant that the excise component per stick was a fraction of 1 paisa. So we kept that nominal collection only all the while, even as the GST was collecting on cigarettes as compensation cess. By comparison, sir, pre-GST excise duty rates ranged from 1,585 to 2,850 rupees per 100 sticks for non-filter cigarettes, and 1,585 to 4,170 per 100 sticks if they were filtered. So the point that I'm highlighting here is, during GST, it was just nominally kept, the account was kept alive, but collection was 5 rupees on 1,000 sticks, whereas prior to introduction of GST, it was 1,585 to 2,850 per 100 sticks, not even 1,000. So pre-GST rates were far higher and excise duty, and post-GST, because they were collecting as compensation cess, here it was nominally kept at 100 sticks for 1,500. But even after the GST had come in, compensation cess rates remained unchanged from July 2017 to 2024. So I want to highlight the fact that even when compensation cess was introduced on these items, the rate remained the same from 2017 till 2024. So normally, World Health Organization, when it gives some reports, it comments on situations prevailing in different countries. According to WHO, sir, there is a global tobacco control report which the WHO brings out. India did not revise specific cess rates, even as the average retail prices of cigarettes rose at less than half the pace of the nominal income growth. Was an observation made by the World Health Organization. And empirical data reinforce this fact. So the World Health Organization and the World Bank jointly track affordability index of tobacco products. Is it affordable, or in order to deter people from using cigarettes, have we kept it higher? Is an indicator which the World Health Organization monitors. And for India, their comment has been, affordability has either stagnated or increased in the past decade. When affordability increases, it means the price is remaining low. So affordability has either stagnated or increased in the past decade, meaning cigarettes have not become more expensive related to the consumer's purchasing power. I'm stating what has happened since after the center gave away for the sake of compensation cess to the GST Council until 24, no rate change has happened. Globally, more than 80 countries, sir, revise tobacco taxes annually, many using inflation indexing or multi-year excise schedules. I've just named them: Australia, New Zealand, where it is Australia is at about 12.5 annually. Automatically, based on CPI, it changes. New Zealand, 10%, Philippines, Turkey, South Africa have also constantly linked it with inflation. EU member states do it, maintain a minimum excise burden of 60% of weighted average price. Some may exceed and reach to 70, 75 also. So even in India, prior to GST rates, annually, rates on tobacco had been increased. So it's primarily health-related concern with which it had to be a deterrent. The price or the tax had to be a deterrent so that people don't get into that habit. But after the sunset of compensation cess, as I said, we are bringing back the excise duty which existed prior to GST. Now, certainly we don't want cigarettes to become affordable. So this is the sum and substance of this particular excise duty. India's total tax incidence on cigarettes is approximately 53%. 53% of the retail price, which is substantially lower than the World Health Organization, which is, I've just mentioned all that earlier. And the World Health Organization benchmark is at 75%. I've already mentioned that some states, some countries do charge more. United Kingdom, Australia are well over 80 to 85%. So we do keep that benchmark which the WHO has highlighted, and the concerns of honorable MPs. Some have said you're going to impose this tax, as a result of which livelihoods are going to be affected because cigarettes or BDs will become more expensive, and those poor people who are rolling BDs will be out of the job. I want to highlight some facts here, sir. I'll come to specifics and speak about specific concerns of members. I'll now go to addressing some of the concerns which honorable members have raised. So first of all, farmers. Tobacco growing farmers will have to be weaned away from growing tobacco into doing other alternative crops. There has been efforts earlier. Efforts continue under Prime Minister Modi's government. Farmers are constantly being told how unhealthy it is to cultivate tobacco, and I will highlight that specifically what efforts are being taken. So government schemes under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, such as crop diversification program under the Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, has 10 major tobacco growing states being covered since 2015-16. Schemes even earlier, I'm not denying, efforts have been there for some time now, decades now. Farmers are encouraged to shift to alternative crops. Which are those 10 states? Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Gujarat, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. What's the progress of these crop diversification efforts? Over 1.12 lakh acres, that is about 45,325 hectares of land, shifted from tobacco to other crops between 2018 to 2021-22. What are the alternatives, sir? If it is partly irrigated area, they go for sugarcane, groundnut, oil palm, cotton, chili, maize, onion, pulses, and turmeric. In specific states, I like to highlight, Telangana has focused on weaning away the tobacco growers to grow Bengal gram and chilies. Odisha has moved them to vegetables growing and maize. Karnataka has moved from tobacco to soya bean and sugarcane. So there are efforts at crop diversification. So I must thank Dr. Kalanidhi Veeraswamy because he, as a doctor, has actually said how injurious it is to the health of the smokers and they shouldn't really be doing it. I appreciate him for sharing his.